Alrighty guys, so I know the very last video was actually the first episode of Game Chat, so it might be weird that I'm jumping right into episode 2, but like I said, I have no schedule for this or anything like that. It's just kind of when I wanted to do it. There was actually a good number of stuff that happened within the past week or so, so I decided let's just make another one to get the current events out of the way, and yeah, let's get into it. Alright, we're just going to start off with some of the smaller stuff, or just stuff that I don't know a ton about. So, first up, Anthem, the infamous looter shooter title that came out, I think it was either last year or the year before, and completely disappointed anyone and everyone who was looking forward to it, is finally dead, it seems. The developers have canceled their plans on doing Anthem 2.0, or Anthem Next as some people were calling it, which was essentially a reboot of Anthem, and the developer pretty much trying to fix the game. All plans for Anthem essentially have been canceled. The game is not going to be supported anymore, at least as far as I'm aware. I didn't play Anthem after the beta because I kind of realized how terrible it was going to be. So for the few that were still sticking with Anthem, I'm sure this is terrible news, but for the majority of us, we don't really care that much. Sticking to looter shooters, Outriders is a recent demo or beta, I don't know exactly what it is, that's come out, that I've been seeing a lot of YouTubers and people talk about. I haven't personally played it myself because I'm just not a huge fan of the looter shooter genre anymore, but from what I've seen, it's pretty polarizing. Either some people really hate it and then just write it off as another, standard looter shooter that's not really going to amount to anything. And some other people have actually been supporting this game and seem to be enjoying it. One of the YouTubers that I really enjoy, Skill Up, he's a review YouTuber, and he's a lot of the inspiration behind some of the videos I make. He has pretty much generally said that he's looking forward to the game. Well, of course it's not perfect, but again, haven't played it myself. It's just something that I've seen out there of recent. And then one last small thing before we get to the bigger news is the Call of Duty's recent update and pretty much the issues that have come with it. Something I've seen a lot on Twitter is the download size of the entire Black Ops Cold War experience is just crazy. And I think it was Activision even put out a tweet saying that base PS4 models might not be able to hold the entirety of Cold War, which is the whole Cold War game, social campaign, multiplayer, zombies, and then Warzone included. But the base PS4 just won't be able to, just doesn't have the capacity to hold that one title, which is just insane because it just shows how poorly optimized that game is made, I guess, because, I mean, you've had some gorgeous looking games that look way better than Warzone and Call of Duty in general. It's a good looking game, don't get me wrong, but and as far as I'm aware, Activision's only real, answer to this is delete the parts of the game that you're not playing. So if you play Duke Campaign, just delete that. If you don't play zombies, delete that. That's not a real solution. It baffles me how little Activision and the Call of Duty team seems to really care about its player base the past couple of years. And with this update even, at least as far as I've seen in Warzone, it's basically completely just ripped the game to shreds. Nobody's having fun with it anymore. I didn't have fun with it to begin with, but my friend Smackin' Cheeks, who a lot of you know, plays exclusively Warzone a lot of the time, especially if he's streaming. And I think this week he said he's just going to try to take a break from the game because it's just broken and busted and just terrible beyond belief. I didn't think it could get much worse, but apparently it has. But the big news, at least, is just the sheer download size and how they're pretty much alienating console players, specifically the ones that have the base models of PS4. They're just pretty much just saying, hey, just delete your stuff or just deal with it or whatever, I don't know. All around, it's not a good look for Call of Duty moving forward, in my opinion. Alright, so there were two big sort of live stream events that happened this past week. One being the PlayStation State of Play, which they showed off some gameplay for a lot of games that we've already seen already. There are two that I specifically want to talk about. The first one being Sifu. Now, Sifu is a game by developer Slowclap, which the game that they're best known for is Absolver, which is a game that I really enjoyed. It was kind of a very unique fighting game, and immediately when I saw this gameplay trailer, I just knew it was from them, and just the gameplay and like fighting looked very similar to Absolver, so I immediately looked up just to make sure that I knew that it was the developer I was thinking of, and I'm really looking forward to this game. We don't know a ton about it so far. All we have is this little trailer here. Aesthetically wise, it's really sick, and then obviously gameplay wise, it just looks amazing. So something I'm really looking forward to. That was one of the things from the state of play that really caught my eye, because they showed a lot of other games like Deathloop and just things we've already seen, so I wasn't super excited about seeing any of those. But the other thing that's pretty much broke the internet and Twitter in the PlayStation State of Play was the news revolving around Final Fantasy VII. They put out this trailer that was pretty much just showing the PS5 upgrade version of Final Fantasy VII, which if you already own Final Fantasy, you can upgrade for free, which is awesome. But also specifically during the PlayStation State of Play, they released a trailer for, I think it's like a DLC for Final Fantasy VII. Now, I'm gonna be honest, gotta come clean. Never played a single Final Fantasy game. You know, obviously I haven't played FF7. But for people like me, which is really cool, this month in March, the PS4 Plus game of the month, one of them at least, is actually Final Fantasy VII Remake. So, at least this is what I'm thinking happens, is pretty much if you have Plus, you get Final Fantasy VII and the PS5 Final Fantasy upgrade for completely free from here forward. If you want to buy the DLC or the next episodes, if that's how they do it, then you can, which is awesome. I'm definitely gonna play it now since I can play it for free on PS4 whenever the monthly titles update for Plus, and then whenever I'm able to get my hands on a PS5, I can freely just upgrade it without ever having to even pay for the full price of the game. That's amazing to me. And I think this is a really good introduction, or at least chance for people to be introduced into the Final Fantasy series, because again, I've never played it, but now I have a chance to without spending any money, and there's no risk. So I've been interested in Final Fantasy. Now it's here for free. Technically not completely free because you have to have Plus, but chances are if you play on PS4, you have Plus. So that was the big news in the PlayStation State of Play. But actually, seemingly right after the State of Play, on Twitter, there was even more stuff pertaining to Final Fantasy VII that came out through trailers and stuff. Specifically, there's a mobile battle royale Final Fantasy game that admittedly looks pretty bad. Honestly, it just looks like Square Enix had a mobile BR in the works already, and they were like, what IP can we throw onto this that'll catch some eyeballs and make it more popular? Final Fantasy. So they just slapped Final Fantasy over it. That's probably not something I'm going to play because I just don't play mobile games. But even bigger news, which again is another mobile game which kind of blows my mind, is that they essentially remade Final Fantasy VII and all of the subsequent stories to go along with it in an original fashion for mobile. So Final Fantasy VII Remake is completely rebuilt from the ground up. It's not, turn-based anymore. It's more of an action game. But with this mobile version, it's pretty much just an up-resed, newly stylized version of the original turn-based game, which is pretty sick. That might actually be something that I hop into, especially if I end up really liking the remake here on PS4, and maybe I just want to experience the older style of it. And just looking at it, it's really impressive that it's even on mobile. Like, what phones are running this? Final Fantasy VII has had a ton of news come out. There's probably even stuff I missed. Again, not a huge Final Fantasy fan. I just kind of know about it because I know about video games. If there's anything I missed, let me know. But a ton of Final Fantasy news came out last week, so if you want to know more about it, it's all over Twitter, and you can find it on your own, I'm sure. Now, the second live stream event sort of deal that happened this week was the Pokemon Direct. It was Pokemon's 25th anniversary, and during this Pokemon Direct there were 3 games that they showed off, one of them being Pokemon Snap, which we already knew about, so while it's cool to see, there wasn't a ton of hype around that. The reason there wasn't a ton of hype around that is because of the 2 other games that they showed off were pretty big deals, at least as far as what I've seen here on the internet. One being the Diamond and Pearl remake. Now, this was already kind of speculated on. There were a lot of rumors, so it didn't surprise a ton of people. It is definitely cool to see, but there's actually been a bit of controversy about the chibi styling of the overworld when you're walking around. I personally don't really mind it that much. Pretty much looks like a modern day version of the sort of 8-bit style that Pokemon used to be. Because if you think about it, the 8-bit models did look very chibi. They were just 8-bit with big heads and stuff. So this is just kind of an evolution of that. At least that's the way I'm looking at it. Would it have been cool to see it in like the Sword and Shield style? Obviously yes, but I'm not too upset about it. I'm just excited to play Diamond and Pearl again. Now the big game that I'm particularly pretty excited for is Pokemon Legends Arceus. Pretty much, at least from what I could tell from the trailer, this is Breath of the Wild Pokemon. That's what a lot of people and my friends were referring to it as. But in terms of story, at least from what they gave us in the trailer, this takes place before Pokemon like trainers and gyms were even a thing. It's kind of an origin story of, I believe, the Sinnoh region, it said. It takes place way in the past when Pokemon were just in the wild. Your mission is pretty much to complete the very first Pokedex and just learn more about Pokemon, which is a really cool and interesting idea, and it's a big departure from what Pokemon has pretty much been forever. But another thing is that if you've watched this trailer, you've probably noticed frame rate is kind of lackluster, and you can see it drop frames quite a bit. What this led to, which what I saw and why I came across all this, on Twitter the term Switch Pro was trending, all revolving around this trailer, because people were speculating or pretty much hoping that some sort of Switch Pro would be coming out so that we could better run this Pokemon Legends Arceus game, because the way the trailer portrayed it, I mean, if the trailer's got frame rate issues, it's safe to assume that the game is probably going to have frame rate issues. Even with that being said, I'm really excited for Pokemon Legends Arceus. Can't wait to get my hands on it. Even though, like, I did love Sword and Shield, but it is just like a traditional standard Pokemon experience, so I'm excited to see something new here with Arceus. Hopefully they could iron out those frame rate issues if there isn't a Switch Pro. Even if there is a Switch Pro, obviously it should still be playable on the OG Switch. So we'll see how that develops. But I am very much looking forward to Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I'm definitely going to be playing the Diamond and Pearl remake whenever those come out as well. Alright, bit of a shorter one, but this week did have some, bigger news things, so I just kind of wanted to talk about them before it became old news. So just to kind of wrap up what I'm specifically excited for, PlayStation Sifu, I'm really looking forward to. Sticking to PlayStation, a ton of Final Fantasy VII news, and for me personally, whenever the Plus Games of the Month update, I'm gonna be playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time, and then if I get my hands on PS5 somehow, I can upgrade for free, which is awesome. And then two other things I'm looking forward to are the Pokemon stuff we just went over, specifically Pokemon Arceus and the Diamond and Pearl remake. And there's definitely stuff I didn't talk about, but again, the series is just pertaining to the stuff that interests me specifically. So if there's anything I missed this week, let me know in the comments. Any like big news that you're like, why didn't he talk about that? Then definitely let me know, because while I'm in the know with technology and gaming and I try to keep up with it, there's definitely stuff that just kind of flies over my head. And let me know what you guys want to see in the future. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.